Wonderschool has a bit of a story behind it, probably like most of your organizations. So this is Chris Bennett. He is the co-founder and CEO of Wonderschool. And the woman that you're seeing is named Yoli. And she actually is the family childcare provider whose program Chris attended when he was a kid. And this picture was taken not that long ago when he was visiting Miami, where he grew up, and showing her some of the work that Wonderschool has done in support of family childcare providers. How our work got started was in 2016, we started working to help increase the supply of family childcare programs to help families have more choice and more options for childcare. The company started in San Francisco, and like many areas, the options for childcare are limited, whether it's because of childcare deserts or, urban areas where there are a finite number of programs and they all have very long wait lists. And so we looked at how to increase childcare supply. And what you're looking at right now is a picture of the very first Wonderschool program, which was a family childcare program that we started. We helped find a teacher who wanted to become the licensee and open her program, and we helped her go through the licensing process, setting up her environment, and then starting and operating her business. Over time, we added more and more programs, and we effectively became a staffed family childcare network and shared services organization, meaning we were supporting a large number of providers. We were building tools and resources for them to help streamline a lot of the functions of their work that are very administrative heavy or very pen and paper focused. And I would say a little before COVID, but definitely spurred by COVID, we also started partnering with states, childcare networks, shared services organizations, and other community-based organizations working with providers to expand the work of Wonderschool. And the reason for that is childcare is a very fragile industry, as I'm sure you all know. Family childcare in particular has never really had many tools or resources built specifically for the job of running family childcare programs. And it's such an important component of the fabric of childcare in our country. And so as our work has grown and evolved, we've started working with, I mentioned we started working with unlicensed programs and helping them become licensed and operating. We also worked with unlicensed programs that were maybe taking care of a few kids, but wanted to grow their programs and be seen as the professionals that they are doing, the important work that they do. And then over time, as the word spread about what we were offering and the services we were providing, more and more licensed and operating programs became interested as well. And so we started working with programs that had been in operation, from 0 months all the way to 20, 30 years. And so today we work with probably closing in on about 2,000 childcare programs through the country. And the demographics of our providers, I would say, are very, very reflective of the demographics of providers throughout the country. So the last time we did a demographic survey a few months ago, 76% of our providers are women of color, 46% are Hispanic or Latino, about 40% reported taking a combination of subsidy funding and private pay tuition. About 60% of people who would report their ages, I should say, shared that they were over the age of 40. And so very reflective of how childcare operators look in their backgrounds and make up, throughout the country. Wonderschool focuses on what we call a triple bottom line. And what that means is we work with childcare providers, we work with local leaders who are providing technical assistance and coaching, and we work with parents who are looking for childcare. And all of these different parties use the technology that we've built to help them in their goals, whatever those are. So for providers, it's really about empowering childcare programs to succeed and to be sustainable businesses. We've built a lot of childcare management tools which support the idea of the iron triangle. And if you are not familiar with that, the quickest explanation, just in the interest of time, is Louise Stoney and Opportunities Exchange have built the premise of a sustainable childcare business around the concept of the iron triangle. So that means In order to be financially sustainable as a center or a family childcare program, you need to be fully enrolled pretty much all the time. You need to be fully collecting tuition and other fees, and the revenue that you're bringing in for your program needs to cover your cost per child. And so that's the high level iron triangle. I'm going to show you in a little bit how that relates specifically to North Carolina childcare programs. And then for families, increasing access to high quality childcare is really important. It's really hard for families and parents to find childcare because providers don't have an online presence, or they might be full. Maybe the drop off and pickup times aren't quite right. Maybe they use subsidy and the provider doesn't take subsidy. There are all these logistical elements that we try to help support when families are looking for care, so that we are able to, share quality insight, help parents find the type of program that they're looking for, and really increase the likelihood of a good, strong match between provider and family. And then for local leaders, providing them with real-time data and visibility into the childcare landscape in their area and in their state is really important. So what that looks like is live supply and demand information, integration into different state systems. And we're able to share aggregate data, so rolling up data across all providers in a community to those higher level organizations who are providing support, so that they get a really insightful and impactful view into how programs are doing and can provide more support, more targeted support, and have a better understanding of the programs in their community. And I mentioned that we're partnering with different organizations throughout this country. I keep trying to say state, but country. These are some examples. And we're currently partnering in about 20 states throughout the country. So you can see some of these organizations are statewide, some of them are more local, some are CCR&Rs, some are shared services organizations. Really anyone working with providers in their community or their state is the perfect type of partner with us. And so let's look a little bit at childcare in North Carolina. So if you look at sort of general statistics, the cost on average is about $9,300 per year, or $770 per month. Childcare is about 4% more expensive than rent, and $3,000 more per year than in-state tuition. Looking at family childcare, the definition of family childcare in North Carolina is a residence where more than 2 children, but fewer than 9 children receive care. And so this means the max capacity for family childcare in North Carolina is 8 children. And so let's look a little bit specifically at different cities and how the iron triangle works, basically. So what you're looking at is data that we've pulled specifically about Winston-Salem. We found that the average income is about $27,000. The average rent is about $1,000. The median home value is about $235,000. The average tuition, if we're looking at the market rate of average monthly tuition being about $771 per month. And then looking at with Wonderschool, you can see in this first column on the left, and then without Wonderschool, we're able to paint a pretty good picture of how the iron triangle works. So these rows that are highlighted in red show percent of market tuition captured, vacancy rate of the program, so how full or not full are the programs, and the percentage of tuition collected. With Wonderschool, providers are able to charge and have insight into the accurate market-based tuition rates in their area and charge those rates to cover their costs per child. Their vacancy rates are able to be low, very low, through visibility into their program about where they may have openings, tools to help connect families with their programs. And through automated tuition billing and collection, they're able to collect 100% of their fees versus having families maybe pay late and having the provider have a hard time tracking down those tuition payments. We're able to offload all of those issues. And what you see is a very different estimated annual revenue. Even looking at expenses, which we've broken out into normal program expenses, which you can see in B at the very bottom. So assuming a 1-to-4 ratio, childcare materials, rent, insurance, food, diapers, consumables, etc. And then looking at the provider's difference in income, you can see that the iron triangle really ensures that a childcare program is not only able to break even, but be successful. And so what that might look like is a teacher assistant helping the provider, which is helping drive those really low ratios and helps increase retention of the provider because they're not working totally on their own. It can mean the ability for the provider to be financially sustainable and successful, which is really important when we're looking at retention of providers across the country and across the state. We can look at another area. So McAlpine, I apologize if I said that wrong. Looking at a different tuition rate, average market rate tuition with Wonderschool and without, we're looking at about $1,400 on average. Total capacity, again, 8 children, because in family childcare programs, that's the max capacity that they can have. And then looking at capturing a low vacancy rate and a high tuition collection rate, similar expenses. And you can see just simply collecting all of your tuition on time and just simply, I'm saying that slightly facetiously, but simply ensuring your program is fully enrolled all the time makes a huge impact on the program's financial sustainability. Looking at Greenville, same thing, much lower average monthly tuition rate, which is totally okay, because when you run this formula where the program is fully enrolled, tuition is fully collected, and the tuition rate matches the market rate, you're still able to have a really sustainable program. And that's really important because we can show that in a rural area, a less expensive area, a more expensive area, this formula works and can be applied from community to community and really help factor into the sustainability of childcare programs. In Asheville, slightly higher monthly tuition, the same rules apply. When you are not fully enrolled, when you're not fully collecting your tuition, when you're not maybe capturing, the correct percentage of market tuition, your bottom line, your revenue is much lower, and your expenses can potentially be higher too, because with Wonderschool, you're able to save money on things like liability insurance, ECE materials and supplies, payroll processing systems, et cetera, et cetera. And so we feel like it's important to show how this becomes applicable very locally so that you can understand how this can potentially work in your own community. And so looking more, sort of zooming out again, looking a little more broadly at North Carolina, our partnership launched very quickly in fall of 2020. For those of you on the call who were part of that, you will probably remember it was very fast. And the goal was to partner with about 10% of the programs in the state, both family childcare programs and smaller center-based programs. The charge, so to speak, was to recruit and onboard programs with the support of CCR&Rs and local Smart Start organizations. And Wonderschool is, been working on developing search engine optimization to help drive enrollments to those childcare programs that do need to increase enrollment. We've developed data dashboards for all the CCR&Rs and Smart Start organizations in the state. And to date, we have about 92% of the programs that we budgeted space for signed up and getting onboarded and using the tools. So that means as of today, I believe we have about 33 licenses left. So we've started working with about 365 programs out of the 400 that we initially were going to work with. And so the premise of what we're doing is, supporting childcare providers and lifting up the work that they do. And so we thought it would be valuable to spend a couple of minutes looking at different Wonderschool spaces. I can't tell from the attendee list right now what work you do and what your role is in supporting childcare. You might be a provider, you might be a supporting organization, you might be a parent, you might be all three. But across the country, there's sometimes a misperception that family childcare means low quality or babysitting, or that the kids are sitting watching TV all day. And those are not typically the type of programs that Wonderschool works with. We work with programs that are intentionally providing high quality childcare and they happen to be programs in the provider's home when they're family childcare. And so these are some pictures of real providers that we work with, real spaces that they've set up. If you look across Wonderschool programs in different states, you'll see that some providers choose to convert an area of their home from, a living room, dining room, let's say, into a classroom environment. That's what we're seeing in this picture. In other programs, you'll see a very intentional mix of home and childcare materials and furniture, et cetera. And both of those and anything in between are like perfect, because different families have different needs for care. Different children do well and thrive in different environments, and different providers have different needs for their own personal families. So since today we're talking specifically about family childcare, we'll flip through a couple of more photos. So again, these are family childcare spaces designed by the providers to serve the children in their care. And so we've worked with programs that are in 1-bedroom apartments all the way up to, big houses with lots of space dedicated for childcare, and programs that are intentionally almost exclusively or exclusively outside, whether that's in the yard of the licensed program or at a nearby park, et cetera. And so when you think about family childcare, I would encourage you to think of the sky being the limit in terms of type of program offered, type of physical space, background of provider, and how needs of children and families can be met. So looking again, it looks more like a preschool environment in this case, and that's great, and that's fine, and that's what works for this family and the families in their care. And in some places you'll see, this program is more serving infants and toddlers in this space. Some programs are more intentionally serving preschool families. We heard from a provider yesterday who said most of her preschool families were graduating this summer, and all of her interested families were infants and toddlers. And so she's working through sort of mentally how to shift her program from working with children who are older and getting ready to enter into kindergarten to shifting back to working with children that are younger and making sure she has the right materials and daily rhythm, and helping parents understand how her program will ensure children are ready for kindergarten and can stay with her program long term. And so this is an example of one of our providers in California, was one of the very first Wonderschool providers. She's earning a really strong living, even by California standards, where everything is insanely expensive here. But before Wonderschool, she couldn't fill her program. She was having a really hard time reaching families and, giving really strong tours to help them enroll. And we quickly helped train her on how to do some of those things, helped her develop an online presence, gave her tools around automating enrollment and tuition collection and parent handbooks and stuff like that. And she's been fully enrolled with a combination of subsidy and private paying students ever since. Another example is Rosa from the House of Little Angels. When we met her, she spoke only Spanish. She was cleaning houses. She had zero experience with technology. And she is one of the strongest programs on our platform. She's completely full with subsidy and private paying students. She is earning a great living. She's very adept at our technology tools, which we were able to help support her to learn. And she's also coaching and mentoring other providers and helping them understand how she did what she did and how it could potentially be applicable to someone new starting a program. And now this is where you thought I was going fast before. I'm going to go really fast now, because I think it's important for you to see a little bit of what our product looks like, just to make it a little more concrete. And I know we only have about 5 minutes. So if you have questions on anything I've said so far, please feel free to add them. But I'm going to blast through some product screenshots and show you how providers use things. So this is simple, right? No big deal. What we do is easy. This is showing sort of our overarching structure. So we have an internet presence and website builder. We help match parents to care. We have automated enrollment tools. We have child and family management system, payment processing, parent engagement through a mobile app, touchless sign in and sign out, a mobile app that's available in English and Spanish. All of these things are used by providers daily, and they help manage those aspects of the iron triangle that we talked about earlier. Data rolls up to community level stakeholders. Professional development can be offered through Wonderschool, or your local professional development opportunities can be messaged through Wonderschool. Shared services helps with group buying power. And then on the side, we do API, so linking the Wonderschool system to different state systems to push information back and forth. We also work on provider recruitment, onboarding, business assistance for community-based organizations or providers. And then again, we really are interested in sharing data analysis and insights. All of this is to say that it's not just a tool that you sort of buy and like plug in and use and go on your way. That's certainly something that can be done with our tools, but also we do so much more because we're really invested in helping ensure the sustainability of programs and communities. So families needing care can find care, and providers offering care can be strong, healthy, and thrive. So I'm literally going to flip as fast as possible through some of these screenshots, but some of what our product offers is the availability of parents and providers to connect through the Wonderschool website. Each provider gets their own customized website to tell specifically about their program. Families can message or sign up for tours depending on what the program is offering. Providers can automatically or electronically send enrollment invitations. One thing that's important for everyone to know is that all of the tools that we've built in for North Carolina are licensing approved. So the exact licensing enrollment forms are built into our product. The parent handbook has been approved. The sign in, sign out, all of those things are approved because we don't want providers to have to do separate systems because that doesn't actually save them time. CCMS means Child Care Management System. So that means all the tools you need to run your business. So enrollment tracking and paperwork, really minimizing the amount of paper providers have to touch and shuffle, really adding tools for them to show and see that they're in compliance and have everything they need. Tuition billing and collection. We've talked about how collecting tuition in full is a really important piece of being a sustainable business. And you can think about how that applies to any other business as well. You can think about, you can't go to the grocery store and say, oops, I forgot my checkbook, I'll get you next time. But a lot of times that happens at childcare. And I've been that parent doing that because I could not remember to bring my checkbook. And now that I can pay online, I'm never late. You can see how, tracking attendance, everyone knows that, that's required by licensing and food program and subsidy. And so having a streamlined tool to do that can really help providers and also parents be more efficient. Strong family communication is really important across all programs. And also like things like being able to track revenue and expenses for providers. Maybe that's not what they jump into right when they start with us. Maybe they're just learning to use technology. And so, to jump right into revenue and expense tracking would be a little overwhelming, but we have a phased approach to build on their knowledge so that they can start using more and more tools and have a better perspective of how their own business is doing. This is just more information about our billing and attendance tracking. All of this will be shared with you, by the way. And then reporting dashboards, again, help show availability data, program operational health, and the broader perspective of how the childcare market is doing within a particular community. And so some of that's pulled into reporting and analytics for providers. Some of it is pulled into impact data. And the last thing I'll add is that we've started adding features for center-based programs as well. So classroom management, ratio tracking, et cetera, to help support bigger centers. And I see that Dawn is asking what the cost is. Through our partnership with Smart Start, the cost is covered. It's free for providers to use. And so encouraging providers in the area to use these tools and see if they help impact their businesses, a really great thing to be able to offer to providers. And if you're interested in joining as a provider, here's a link where you can fill out a form and our team will contact you. If you're interested in learning more as a local organization, feel free to reach out to, you can send me an email if you want, which is mia@wonderschool.com. I'll put it in the chat box. And I can hook you up with the right person on our team, which is probably me, to talk with you further, and we're happy to do so. And that was the world's